All right, guys, and here is our last part of your classwork that you had to do. So these are your 2 word problems. With word problems, you are going to be able to give me decimal answers because, again, it's not going to make sense. Like this question asks us, how long is the ball in the air? You're not going to tell someone it's square root of 22 seconds in the air. They're going to look at you like you're crazy. So we're going to actually calculate and get those square roots in decimals. And we're going to tend to round to the nearest hundredth, which is your second decimal place, unless they tell you otherwise. All right, so in this problem, we have a lacrosse player, has the ball in his net. He's going to toss it from an initial height of 7 feet with an initial velocity of 90 feet per second. And his partner or his teammate who catches it at 3 feet above the ground. So we want to know how long is the ball in the air for. This H formula, that is a height with velocity in time. That is always going to be there in any time you have velocity, a speed, falling, or tossing of an object. So if you need that formula, I always give it to you. You guys just have to fill it in now. So based off of all of the information given, I can figure out these missing parts. So V stands for velocity. So V sub 0, that's your initial velocity. H sub 0 is initial height. And this is your final height. That's why it's at the end of your equal sign. Okay, the negative 16 has to do with gravity. So that's always going to be there. So when I read through this, I know a few things. I know initial height was 7 feet. It tells me right here, initial height of 7 feet. I know a velocity of 90 feet per second. So I know that velocity speed. And I know when he catches it. I know he catches it at 3 feet above the ground. That's my final height. So I can plug in all of this into my equation and get started on solving. So first things first, always get it equal to 0. So we're going to just move that 3 over, nice and easy. And now we can get into our work. Your A term, negative 16, B is 90, C is 4. I'm going to start by finding my discriminant, just like I always do. So B squared minus 4AC. So again, just filling in the values wherever they belong, just like we did in all those problems previously in our practice. When you do that, you are going to get a discriminant that comes out to 8,356. Again, from here, we're going to start using our quadratic formula. Plug in everything we know. And then start simplifying. So the negative of B, negative 90. Our discriminant, remember, that's this, goes right in here. So 8,356. And A is negative 16. So I'm going to actually put in my calculator and figure out, well, what is the square root of 8,356? So I can figure out how to solve this. Again, we're going to round it to do decimal places for our simplification. So I have negative 90. Square root of that comes out to 91.41 all over negative 32. So now we have to figure out, well, what are these actual values? So we can see how long it was in the air for. So we're going to do it twice. We're going to start by doing the adding. And I would just simply put that in my calculator. When you do that, it does come out to about negative 0.04 seconds. Extend that. Then you're going to do it again where you subtract 91.41 and divide it by negative 32. Again, when you put that in your calculator, you get about 5.67 seconds. So when you look at these, you can't have a negative second. That doesn't make sense. So our answer is going to be, it was in the air for about 5.67 seconds. If they wanted it to the nearest whole second, you would say about 6 seconds. Okay, but here we are going to give decimals because they didn't specify how we would round it. Okay, so that's your first question. The last one has these tablets, tells you how many are sold based off of this given model. And T represents years after 2010. So that's going to be important once I find my answer. So let's start with writing this out. So we're only looking at part A and part C. So part A says, in what year did the tablet computer sales reach $65 million? Well, A is the number of tablets sold. And they're counting it in millions. So when I substitute, I am only going to put 65. Do not put 65 with all the zeros. They truncated it to be told as per millions, just using your number. Okay, so we're going to subtract that 65. All right, we're going to start by finding our discriminant. Again, I know my A is 4.5. My B is 43.5. My C is negative 48. My discriminant comes from B squared minus 4AC. And again, since this is a word problem, when I do calculate it out, I'm going to just calculate whatever it ends up being. I'm going to keep it, round it to 2 decimals if needed. Okay, what happens is that this is going to come out to 2,756.25. So that's just my discriminant. Now I'm going to use it to solve. Again, plug in everything I know. My discriminant was that value I just found. So I'm putting in my radical 2,756.25. And then simplifying this out. So negative 43.5 plus or minus the square root of that does come out to 52.5 all over 9. Again, from here, move myself over. I would simplify, do one at a time. One where I add the 52.5 divided by 9, and then one where I subtract it. Again, from here, this is just a matter of calculator. So I would actually calculate the top first, hit enter, then divide by 9, because sometimes it divides the wrong things by 9. The first one actually comes out to a 1. The second one comes out to a negative 10.67. Again, just like the previous problem, this one doesn't make sense. We're talking about years. So we're not going to use this one. We're going to use the 1. Now, it's not 1. It's not year 1. Remember, it is years after 2010. So if I have 1 year after 2010, it is actually the year 2011. So in 2011, the tablets hit $65 million. And part C is an opinion question that says, do you think this model will be accurate after a new innovative computer is developed? I'm going to say no, because what happens when new things are out, bright, shiny, new, everybody wants it. So now this tablet that had this function is no longer valid. It's going to change because its sales aren't going to be projected the same, because now this bright, new, shiny tablet, phone, computer is going to get more of your market. Okay. But again, part C is your question, your opinion, your reasoning behind it.